जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम टू डेव टॉक्स। दिस इज आदि अचिंत। आज बात करते हैं सबसे बड़ी एक क्वेश्चन की। इजराइल का जो एयर डिफेंस है दुनिया में सबसे बेहतर माना जाता है, इंक्लूडिंग द एयर आयरन डोम, लेवल्ड इंटीग्रेटेड एयर डिफेंस, एआई इंटीग्रेटेड, ये वो जितनी टेक्नोलॉजी दुनिया की है सारी डिफेंस में इजराइल के पास है। वो ये हुआ क्या? हाउ डिड इजराइल मिस सच एन अटैक? इतनी सारी रॉकेट्स नहीं खेल पाया वो, इतने सारे वो पैरामोटर्स के साथ आ गए, एक शूट डाउन नहीं हुआ, एंड अभी भी रॉकेट अटैक्स कॉन्स्टेंटली इजराइल पे हो रहे हैं। एयर डिफेंस की स्टोरी आज थोड़ी समझते हैं क्या है और भारत से इसको क्या लेसन लेने चाहिए फ्रॉम एयर मार्शल GS बेदी। सर नमस्कार, गुड इवनिंग एंड वेलकम टू द शो। ऑलवेज अ प्लेजर टू हैव यू सर, ट्रस्ट मी, वी लर्न सो मच एवरी टाइम यू कम।
Thank you. Namaskar, Adi. It's always a pleasure to be here. Like I say, I love to talk technology and how things work. But today, like we are sitting in a very different scenario, very tough and intriguing questions. When you talk of air defense and we see what happened in Israel, not being judgmental about anything, we will analyze it purely from professional point of view as to how things happen. Now, actually, if we talk of the Israel scenario, and you talk of air defense, it's not typically an air defense operation or a failure of air defense, I would say. It's a totally different kind of operations. There is, we can call it intelligence failure, we can call it, relaxed mood, we can call it sluggish procedures. So many things have been said when people have analyzed this operation. Okay, but now question comes that does it qualify to be called an air defense failure per se? Okay, so before we get into Israel proper, okay, or this operation proper, I would just like to briefly touch upon what is a classical air defense operation. When we talk as air defense, now air defense is essentially guarding your assets, whether on ground or in the air, from a threat which emerges from the medium of air. Okay, so there are different ways to go about it. From the old times when we started having air defense scenarios, you had operational readiness platforms. You saw what missiles you have, what aircraft you have. So typically, people drew lines on paper, that if enemy aircraft starts from place A, how much time will it take to travel, what speed, and I launch aircraft from here, where should it meet, where should my radar see, etc., etc. When there was a very, very classic basic air defense scenario. Now we are mushroomed. We have mushroomed into ballistic missiles. We have mushroomed into long-range aircraft. We have mushroomed into long-range weapons. So how does it work? How would a classic air defense work if two nations were to fight, like Russia, Ukraine are doing, or let's say tomorrow we keep talking in our shows about India, China scenario, where two nations far apart, when I say their center of gravities are far apart, are at war. So how does air defense work? Okay, so I have a small presentation to
Absolutely, sir.
it's illustrative in nature. Okay, now here if you see, this is ballistic missile defense, but it can be extrapolated for anything. What it shows here is you see enemy missile launcher on the left side, correct? Now it has launched a missile, supposedly a ballistic missile, but you can translate it into anything. It could be an airfield which has launched an aircraft, okay, to go to enemy side, and it is a missile in this case. Now what happens is there is a radar, a radar station which tracks this missile or which detects this missile. So any threat which is coming to you is first detected. So air defense principles are that you first detect it, then you track it, and then you intercept it or you destroy it. So once the radar detects this threat, then what happens is there is a control center, command and control, which tracks, which middle may you see, okay, that command and control center tracks this threat, and it guides, or it orders your interceptor missile on the right side, which is missile launcher, and let's say it launches a missile from the ground. Now this could be an incoming missile, this could be an incoming aircraft. Broadly, this is how an air defense would work. I have seen this scenario where a threat is launched from far off, and you also have largely long range missiles. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, if you just shift to the next slide, please. Here I have painted an airborne scenario. Okay, I have just used J-20 as a target and Rafale as a launch aircraft interceptor. But similar thing. Now, what have I introduced here? I have introduced an AVAX here. Okay, and I have introduced a satellite here. Your ground radars will remain, but in addition, let's say there was an AVAX in the air. Now, AVAX will detect this aircraft. It will pass on the information to your interceptor aircraft. Your GPS, aids your positioning to see when I launch a missile. The satellite guides it. Initially I see the coordinates of an incoming aircraft, and I say, okay, this is where you have to go, and now it heads that missile towards that proximate location of the the threat which is coming. Then if it is an active missile, it will open up its own radar and it will maneuver, and as I have seen a kinetic kill at an approximate point, it will hit. Now a question may come here that, okay, what happens if your aircraft does not come that close the threat, because it has long range weapons, it can launch from far off. Now, it's not necessary that you are launching a missile or an aircraft where the target is, because you have radar station deployed forward, you have missile launchers forward. So this aircraft which is coming, which I have shown as target, aircraft per se doesn't tell me anything. I mean, doesn't bother me. It is the munition that he is going to drop over my target, which is a worrisome. That is why I need to neutralize this aircraft, what they used to call bomb line earlier. You had to intercept this aircraft before this aircraft reached the bomb line, means from where it can dispense that munition which can come and now harm me.
Hmm.
So that intercept had to take place well forward, whether by the ground launched platform or by the airborne platform, like we have shown. A lot of intricacies are involved, but overall, if you see, you will find three main elements. There is a detection element, whether detection is by ground radar, or it is by an AVAX, or it is by own airborne intercept radar of the fighter. All fighters are equipped with airborne intercept radars. Okay, and now it uses its that detection of the threat, and now there is a command and control system. If it is ground based launcher, then command and control is on the ground. If aircraft is launching, then the whole command and control is within the aircraft, which calculates that when should it launch missile. Okay, now there
Okay.
are various ranges where it launches missile. For example, we call it Dmax 1 or Dmax 2. Classically, what happens is, let's say if the enemy aircraft was not maneuverable, like for example it was AVAX or refueler or that kind of aircraft, or an asset, or an oblivious aircraft, who doesn't think that he's being threatened, he is going straight and level. So there will be a particular range at which I can launch a missile, which will now go follow the path and will be able to hit the aircraft because it's not maneuvering. But now, if this aircraft was to maneuver, then obviously I cannot launch this missile from very far off. Right now, I will have to come closer. That is called no escape zone. Every missile has got a classical no escape zone against a maneuvering target. So from the DMAX 2 or no escape zone, when I launch a missile, now aircraft can maneuver up to its max ability. That missile will not leave it. Missiles like Meteor or Abrams, etc., have large no escape zones. Okay, so the whole air defense game, when you see the kind of ranges we are talking of hundreds of kilometers. 100 kilometers, 150 kilometers. Some ranges are not, known. So that is what the whole air defense scenario is. That I am estimating that an aircraft is airborne from hundreds of kilometers away. My radar has detected it way out, or a ballistic missile launched thousands of kilometers away. I have detected it at hundreds of kilometers of altitude, and then launched my air defense asset. This is what complete air defense scenario, the way it looks like. But what happened in Israeli case was a very close combat kind of scenario. Now you see what happens is, we call in particular terms, I professional purely, like I said, I don't want to be judgmental, but what happens is, Israel in this particular case, got kind of surprised, because they never thought that this attack could be coordinated. It came from all three dimensions. It came through
All.
sea,
Hmm.
land, and air. Okay. Firstly, they never thought that this kind of coordination could take place from Hamas, who were doing a rudimentary kind of attack. Right now, technology is important. technology is important because I firmly believe that without technology you cannot become great. If you trace our history, I mean, people say that if British could rule over so long over India, they had technological edge. If 1857 failed because of technological problem, Israel itself has been able to call shots against much greater neighbors because of technology, right? So there was a reliance on technology, there was a reliance on intelligence. But what happens is now you have to make a difference between intelligence failure and incompetence. Okay, intelligence failure is not, I mean, what is intelligence failure? What does intelligence tell you? In my opinion, there are two elements to intelligence. One, to know what is there. Okay, that is a continuous process. You are continuously examining कि क्या है, what does the enemy have, क्या है दुश्मन के पास. And the second element of intelligence is when can it come, when is it coming.
Hmm.
सो फर्स्ट पार्ट इज ऑलवेज विद यू. आप तो रोज ही देख रहे हैं कि भाई उनके पास क्या है. वो तो डेली दे आर शोइंग यू कि इतने रॉकेट फायर कर दिए, ये कर दिया, वो कर दिया, उनकी क्या स्ट्रेंथ है. आपके पास इंटेलिजेंस एजेंसीज है, मोसाद है, यू हैव शबाक इंटरनल, यू हैव देन अमान, which is military intelligence directorate. In fact, in Israel, intelligence is a separate wing, like it's a separate force, like Army, Navy, Air Force, there's an intelligence force. So, in spite of all that, I think what that over reliance on technology is one part that you thought that nothing can happen to you, and on the contrary, what did Hamas do? Okay, they probably number one coordinated. They practiced in open daylight, in
Hmm.
visible. They carried out exercises and they fooled them by transmitting those things के हमें नहीं लड़ना, हम नहीं लड़ सकते इजराइल से. I believe that kind of radio transmissions which were picked up, and वो एक तरह से तसल्ली दी इजराइल को कि ये नहीं, ये कुछ नहीं करेंगे. Okay, even now I believe when they attacked, most of the Hamas fighters did not really know, I believe, to start with, whether it was exercise or it was an actual attack, because they used to continuously practice these kind of maneuvers के ये करेंगे, वो करेंगे, etc. Okay, now when we come to technology or reliance, if I want to sum up the whole Israeli scenario, I can sum up in, if you put my next slide, in this one statement, that feeling safe isn't the same as being safe. Okay, they were feeling safe, whereas you need to be safe. And why do I say that? Because, okay, let's say you have intelligence failure. Now, when we say intelligence failure, failure is a word attached to it. De facto, it means there was no intelligence, correct? I mean, if there was no intelligence, let's say, then shouldn't you be able to guard yourself? When we come to nuclear power, you say second strike capability. Okay, what is second strike capability? It's not essentially that you will know first when is nuclear weapon going to be launched. It caters for that if nuclear weapon has been launched, can you still launch a strike? So my point is that your preparation or your border or your stuff has to be in a position that even if you did not know when was enemy going to come, when it comes, then should you be taken off so much off guard, that things go haywire. Now, is it necessary that I can only defend myself only in case I come to know of it prior hand? If I don't come to know of it, then things will go haywire. I think that is where you understand the difference I'm making between two things, that you should not be because it has got a connotation, when we come to our own scenario. Okay, and that scenario that I painted of ballistic missile, etc., has got a bearing on how we will see Iron Dome works. Now, what happened, in Israel's case? Please go to the next viewpoint. Okay, now look at this. This is fence. Okay, now Israel had done everything. It has created this fence. It had created iron wall. Means when it was known that Hamas are likely to dig tunnels, and they were digging tunnels, and Netanyahu is supposed to have said that then make more deeper and greater walls, and there were various techniques of making those walls. They were seismic sensitive. That means they say even 200 feet below, if there was an activity, that sensor will sense it. They had seismic sensors, for this activity. And I believe when Donald Trump visited Israel and he was told about this iron wall, he is supposed to have said that, oh, this is a great idea. I'll make a similar one in Mexico, probably, to stop it. And this was called iron wall. Now, everything in Israel, iron wall, iron dome, and now, they're probably thinking of iron beam. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, they've used it also, sir.
Yeah, this fence that the point I wish to make is that now this fence, it had a lot of sensors. It would tell you just about everything. But point which had to be understood was that after all, it is a fence of metal. Yeah, I mean, is it immune to physical attack? It will tell you. It has been, you probably had to do some kind of appreciation that if people just bulldoze, if people just use some kind of fire explosive, can it look after itself? Okay, it can warn you. It can, like, you put a man with a camera or something, so he's standing, he can warn you, but shouldn't you worry about that? If this man has attacked himself, then what does it do? Okay, so this has probably happened, that Israel, when that physical attack came, it just sort of gave way. And what did they do? And we saw, when I described the day defense system, command and control system was the nerve center. Now you see, command and control system of an air defense system is like your brain. I have hands, I have legs, I may be carrying weapons, etc., but what controls which way my hands will move, etc., is controlled by brain. If you take over my brain, all my weapons, everything is defunct. So I think this is one thing that Hamas realized, that way to attack. Earlier, they were firing rockets, just on population centers to create terror or to do what. But this time, I think when they got serious that we have to take on this, they knew where to attack. Okay. Now, how the attack came, like you say, it came from all over. I mean, ground forces, yes, and more important, by air, to go over the fence. And let's have the next slide. If you see, this is a Merkava tank, right?
Macau.
And Merkava tank, and it used that, drone came right overhead it and dropped munition. And what kind of munition? The next picture, if you see, the fin stabilized munition. You see the fins, okay, below. So this is an ambulance attack, but I've just used this because this figure was available here. So when they do use these kind of attacks, this, and what drones were used, the DJI, there are those markings available, and they were careful to the extent that they disabled their return to home function. Every drone has got a return to home function. What is the return to home function? That, when it is being guided, it is using communication, and suppose that communication is, it loses that communication for some reason, and it is not able to proceed towards its target, it will come back home. Now these guys did not want it to come back home, to realize that where is it coming from. So they disabled that uh, return to home function as well, because the videos which were available, it had that return to home thing blurred. Okay, so this much detail, sort of they went into. Let's see the next picture. And this is another, no, there is do it yourself also, different kind of drones. I mean, you can assemble one quickly and make just about anything, cheap drones. And we'll see when we come to exchange ratio of, what you have to spend to destroy what. The next one is, now this is the Zawari drones, they use. These are kamikaze drones. Okay, now you see the way they are lined up, or those fighters on the left. Okay, and this I have just shown a close up on the right. This is the guy which, like those kamikaze drone, which will just go and destroy itself over targets. And what are the targets they use? Next one, please. Next one. This is just a, there must have been a picture in between of control center. Is it coming up after this? After this? No, just go back, please. I think in between there was a picture of, just go back.
Let me see if I can find it, sir.
Yes, it is in that, there is a control center and a remote gun. Just before.
Please continue, sir. I'll just try and
Yeah, yeah.
see if it's
No,
there
no.
in your.
So, okay. Yeah. So I mean, it was there when I transferred, but probably one or thing must have got dislodged. But anyway, never mind. What I wanted to say was that they attacked the control center first. Now you see, there were remote guns, okay, on all these places. Now, it probably one would know that if there is a remote gun, who's controlling that remote gun? Obviously, there is a control center, right? Now, if there is a control center which is controlling remote guns and you take over that control center, take over, I mean, you destroy that control center, you don't have to destroy each gun one by one, one by one. If that control center is controlling 20 guns and you destroy the control center, all 20 have become defunct. So these guys went into this kind of detail, and they had maps. Now there is a next picture. Okay, let's move forward. That picture was taken, from one of the guys who got killed. His head, he had a camera which recorded, and they took that picture. And here, you see that guy referring to map. Okay, that means they precisely knew when I enter where to go, and when he's in doubt, he is referring to it, that where is the target, where is the control center, north, south, etc. Where do I have to head? So it is not a bullheaded attack. You see, it shows planning. That means they had known where to head. Not just like that. Like when initially came into the news, they barged into that party, they took hostages, they entered houses, they did this as if it was kind of loot, like ransacking a place, whatever came on your way. But here, I'm sure he's not looking out for a particular house on this. He's looking for something very important, okay, and which is their control nerves, And most of the people, they say, when they came under attack, I mean, they were not even expecting it. Most of them got captured in their, sort of undergarments. I mean, to
Hmm.
say, in slangs, okay. So this is the way they did. Now, okay, next one. Now, when we say, let's come to Iron Dome, and there are unconfirmed reports, I believe, that even balloons may have been there in the scenario of watching. This is a
Wow.
drone check picture taken, and they say unconfirmed reports. I mean, close by, I don't know what were they for, but it is possible that they were using this kind of scenario. It will come out in the reports subsequently. The next one. Now this is Iron Dome. Okay, what we talk of, that how Iron Dome defense service work, defense system work. Now, and why was it successful earlier, and why was it not successful now? Okay, it has got
Biggest
radars.
question, sir.
Biggest question. So what happens is, very, if you trace, if you just see that how many rockets were being fired earlier. This Iron Dome has got a capability to detect if you move from 1, 2, 3, 4, to the right, I mean, and 5 on top. One, the rockets are fired, enemy rockets are fired. Okay. Two, it says the radar system detects rocket and it tracks. Now it has got a logic. It knows the populated areas and it can calculate trajectory of this rocket. Now this rocket is not maneuverable incidentally. It's just a dead rocket, right? It's just fired and it goes. So it calculates that which are the rockets which are likely to hit the populated area, and it only tracks and attacks those rockets. Okay, and then it gives commands to its launcher, which fires a missile to intercept this rocket. And what is shown as number 5, it intercepts this rocket. If they fire 314 rockets, let's say, I've just taken this typical figure, this system would calculate that it is only but 20 or 30 rockets which are going to land upon critical places. The rest are just going into fields here, there, so I don't need to bother. So it takes on those 20 rockets and it is successful. They say 90% success. It does not mean that 90% rockets were intercepted out of 500 or 300. It means that all those rockets which were to land upon the populated area, 90% of them were disabled. Now, see the
Hmm.
number that we are talking of. Okay, 300, 400. And you know what is exchange ratio? Exchange ratio, like we discussed in our directed energy weapon scenario, that what are you firing to destroy what? The Hamas rocket probably, it's $600, let's say. Okay, each Iron Dome missile is $60,000. So now what happens is they have 10 batteries. Each battery can carry about 60 of them, I guess, at a time. Okay, so there are about 600 interceptors available. Calculating the ratio, that how much can they take, how many rockets are coming. So they were always able to take on 300, 350, which were being fired. Now, if you fire 5,000 rockets of them, it will get
Mhm.
overwhelmed. Okay, now it will not know that, which rocket to take, because practically every rocket is going over populated area, and it will run out of its tracking ability or taking on ability.
Correct.
Saturation of air defense has been the biggest worry of any air defense system. We will see that how this subsequently can be saturated. So I think why Iron Dome, we say, did not work is primarily for this reason, that it was simply overwhelmed by the number of rockets. Now, I think what should have been thought on, what we need to also keep in mind is that this particular thing, now for Israel to think that this capacity of Iron Dome can never be overwhelmed, because it has
Mhm.
never been overwhelmed. Okay, probably there was a tactical calculation mistake. It probably, I mean, for any force, when you develop a system, you can't just treat it to be invincible. That it can never be, what is the fallback from there? I mean, if Iron Dome fails, or if Iron Dome cannot take on all the threats, then what happens? Probably, had they calculated the rate at which these Hamas were firing rockets, now has it reduced over a period of time? I mean, from 300, has it come to 2, 4, 2, 4? Where are those rockets being, piled up, and what are they being piled up for? And there could be a time, where they could be launched together. And also an
Correct.
element of surprise, when we say that earlier it was either rockets fired, or some odd attack here and there. Okay, but now when all things happen together, and ground offensive came, the sea came, and micro gliders, micro lights came, and drones came. Now drones also, we will talk about it a little, that what kind of defense drones require. Then probably all things in this scenario were not adequate, and Israel always, I think, to an extent, depended on the deterrence that it has. Like people, it thought that before fingering me like this, people will think twice, that how, what kind of retaliation will come. So something like this will not happen, because had they anticipated it, then probably they would have been prepared for this kind of scenario, I guess. Okay. And now from Iron Dome, that is why that iron beam that you hear. Okay. That is a directed energy weapon, where we discussed last time that the exchange ratio for directed energy weapon is very, very less. I made a comment last time that, if on one hand, then we were talking of SM series of missile, that if it was $36 million, and you can, with the laser, powerful laser, you could do the same job for the cost of a cup of coffee. Like, it is just to draw a comparison. So this directed energy weapons now offer you a good exchange ratio, provided that many systems are available, because they are just power based, and as long as you have power,
Heavy,
you
heavy.
never run out of those systems. Okay, you can continue to have them, but the question is that Israel was not yet planning to field it. If they have prematurely got into, I mean, as per the reports that I
Yeah.
read from the Rusi, or whereas the people who are closely watching it, which is again worrisome, that even either the system is premature, or it was not yet fully matured, so it may have some limitations, etc., or they will work over time with whatever help they have to get it operational, which can create different equation altogether. Okay, now this is whole scenario why just the air defense part of it. Okay, we are not getting into other. Now whenever ground offensive happens, and yeah, like, hospital attack now has been very being talked about, and people, all sorts of things are there, JDAM, or, yeah, let's say fuel air explosive also, some reports they say, but fuel air explosive is a very dangerous weapon. I
Very.
think
I was just
uh,
about to.
yeah, in my opinion, I don't think that probably is a fair guess. Anything is possible, because the way it works is the fuel air explosive. I mean, it's got a typical explosive which uses, the atmospheric oxygen to burn, and it sucks out all the oxygen. If the fuel air explosive was to be dropped over somewhere, people will probably run out of lungs or run out of breath. That is why it is banned. It is not. And I don't think anyone, when we are talking of righteousness and we are talking of wrong things being done, anyone would end up using that. Okay, what happened, etc., is a different course of study. So we are just sticking to this particular thing. So as far as Israel is concerned, I don't think it was a typically air defense operation. It was a very close combat kind of scenario. And now what comes out of it, air defense scenario may emerge, Adi, in case other players join in now. Now there are threats, if Hezbollah joins, and who all get involved in this conflict.
Those
Then,
guys have 100,000 rockets, sir.
yeah. So if the aircraft get involved now, if the other players get involved, and that is when this typical air defense scenario will play out. But in this particular scenario, it was a very localized kind of conflict.
Correct. Hmm.
Your classic tenets of air defense were not really at play. Okay, it was more of a border skirmish, I would say. Just localized. Okay, that way. But when it comes to now, what do we need to do? I mean, Bharat, you since flagged that why, what is our scenario and what are the lessons for us? Probably, can we have the next slide, please? I'll just quickly. This is what I was looking at. This is the control center. Okay, this is where from where I think they got numbered here and there. This is the control center that they attacked. And the next one, if you see, it is a remote gun, okay, which was being controlled from that control center. And the reports have that control center has fair amount of autonomy, in the sense there is just one level of clearances required. If I am operator, I see something happening, and I just need to take a local kind of clearance, and this machine gun will start firing. But the fact is that they were being radio controlled. Now, what these guys have done is they have just disabled that communication. You attack control center and you disable the communication. Your whole everything is gone for a six. And the redundancy, I mean, that is what reliance over, heavy reliance over technology probably needs to be rethought. Okay. Can we have the next one, please?
I mean, this one, if I may, sir, there's a
Yeah.
little research I did on this also, because these guns were more or less backed by AI. So what happened was, I guess, I
A,
mean, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the AI part was not able to recognize the kind of threats, the new system on the paramotors and the, you know, balloons and this and that, and it just didn't react because it had never seen that before. Now,
but
is
AI,
that a very big thing saying that by human intervention is needed in these kind of situations rather than
what
100%
happens
dependency on
is,
AI, sir?
yeah, take a case if all these machine guns are manned. I mean, just a scenario. What do you think would have been the scenario? I think they भून देते हैं उनको सब, नहीं? जो I
Huh?
mean, है ना,
At
इतनी
least the
सारी machine
paramotor
guns
guys
अगर
would have been
मिलेगा,
shot down. Simple.
shot down. And even on ground, it was not possible to do that kind of
Yeah.
offensive from front. I mean, if they came through tunnels, etc., I think that some guys may have sneaked in through tunnel. They may have gone deeper further or whatever they done. But the fact is now, AI, what is AI used for? AI, but the basically thing is that communication, who's ordering this gun to fire? This order for this gun to fire was essentially coming from control center. Okay, this AI may be used to, to distinguish between, let's say, birds and aircraft, or, between some stationary target and mobile target, or some, something, a drone and something else, etc. That is what probably it would have been used for. But the basic thing is the communication, the order to fire, okay, was disabled. I mean, if that gets disabled, then this gun has gone defunct. And then some physical attacks also took place. But the basically is that the nerve center, the brain of the whole operation, was taken over. So that is why this whole thing played out in that much time. But I mean, by the time whenever they got their act together, that thing stopped. But what happens is, this is a big lesson for us. When we come to our scenario, that how we need to play out. But now we'll just, from here, when we come to Bharat, then we can't replicate this scenario. I mean, we'll have to think a little big, when we are talking, because the scenario in our case could be that, but will play out in a little bigger fashion. Next one, please. So what happens is, what is it? I mean, we when we come to our own scenario, अपनी तरफ, तो हमें क्या करना है? हमें defense of own assets. That is what we have to do, whichever way they are threatened. That is the whole essence of air defense. What do we have for that? We have surface. Now we'll not get into the nomenclature of things. We are talking of concepts, right? Anybody, I mean, in question answers wants to know particular about a system, we can always discuss it. Okay. So for defense of our own assets, we have surface to air missiles, we have air to surface anti-radiation missile, which is very, very important, because if you don't disable the enemy radar, then you have a problem. Then CAD, DAD, what we call is suppression of enemy air defense and destruction of enemy air defense. Now, why we gone to enemy air defense? Because for your own air defense to be credible, you have to do something to the enemy air defense. Otherwise, the whole things don't play out. If the enemy aircraft are being guided, or my aircraft cannot operate in that offensive air defense role, then there is a problem. Suppression is by electronic means, and destruction is by your physical destruction. Okay, we have ballistic missile defense capability. We have talked about it. We have decent interceptor aircraft. We have radar network, phenomenal radar network, which looks at low level to high level. Most important, command and control systems are there. Now, all these systems that you see we have, they what does it show? That you are depending, your air defense is dependent on so many things which are complementing each other. They are not isolated. One thing you take out from the system, that system will not work in a cohesive manner. That means each and every element is extremely important. So all the more important that you look after each and every element out of it. Most important being your command and control. Command and control remains susceptible to if physical attacks, to cyber attack, to all kinds of attacks. Okay, and what is the threat? Threat is, can come from aircraft. Like I said, aircraft threat is because it's carrying some munition. It can destroy my ground asset. So I have to worry about it. I have to destroy it before it can do that. Or it can, my aircraft in the air are also my assets. So if this enemy aircraft is coming with an air defense missile or a ground munition, then both have to be catered for. Okay. Then incoming missiles have become a threat now. Sometimes back, Adi, we did not really think of till this rocket force had come into play, that missiles were only air defense missiles. Ground air to surface missiles were only against anti-ship or against radars, etc., but not against ground targets. But now they are a potent threat, so we have to guard against it. And UAVs. Okay, UAVs are a new game now. That different kinds of UAVs have come. Do it yourself. Like I said, every second guy is flying UAV. And what is our biggest worry of anybody, not only ours? Biggest worry is saturation of air defense. Earlier, when, let's say, UAVs were not in the scene, and you wanted to take on, or you wanted to saturate enemy air defense, what were the tactics? You did it in azimuth and elevation. That means when you said that I am sending 50 aircraft, 70 aircraft, okay, probably all of them were not required to do the job. They were to saturate enemy air defense network in azimuth, and you send them at multi-level. Some people went low level, some people went medium level, some people went high level, so that the enemy radar systems or enemy air defense was saturated, so that it didn't know where to go. Now this same thing is being done by UAV. Now we talk of swarms. Okay, now there is a swarm attack, mass attack. I will not differentiate between the two. More number of UAVs at the same time, let's call it that there is a swarm attack. That is what it is. Now we think that swarm attack is a new thing, but nature probably, like we were talking, has always been there. Like insect. How much does one insect bother you, for that matter? Okay, but now you see next picture. Do we have that? Okay, now look at this locust attack. Okay, Swarm attack will be something like that. One odd insect was of not much threat to me, but when they come like that, it created havoc. They destroyed your crops. They did physical damage, etc. So it was always there that these kind of things can come in mass. Okay, but it is just that we sort of ignored it. We thought only insects can come in mass, but when a drone starts behaving like insect, then obviously it can come in mass. So now when they come in mass, now you have to already think about it. And I have to plan, I must know that if tomorrow 100 or 200 drones or these things are coming, do I have to shoot everyone? I mean, what is my tactics against those?
Hmm. Hmm.
Shooting and every drone, let's say with expensive missile, if I can draw an analogy, is like shooting bird with a golden bullet. If you have a golden bullet and you start shooting each bird with that, should you be doing that? You need to think of something else. I need to devise some other passive measures or something, that when I'm prepared for it, and that in case 200 drones come, not that I panic now, that okay, I have to shoot down everyone, otherwise my defenses will go. So let me do some passive defense. Let me do some things that, after all, what can they do, and guard those things by some other means, some lasers, some other scenarios, rather than just run out of my air defense missiles, and now I have expended all of them on these drones, and when actual potent threat comes, I have nothing available. This is one biggest lesson, that how to be prepared for this kind of attack. There are ways available, various weapons, like we talked of, high power microwave, etc., which can take on these things. So those developments have to come up
Yeah. Hmm.
quick time. Yeah.
But the high
Okay.
part microwave, to theek hai. I mean, that's a counter for a specific area. How do you cover
No,
the
you will
vast
have to have
scope
so
of the
many
country?
numbers. Yeah, those many numbers will have to be there. What happens is, like the difference between laser and this HPM. When we talked, HPM is a wide area. Like it can. That is why I said there is a difference between mass attack and swarm attack. In swarm attack, the drones are talking to each other. They are in formation. They are in some kind of. They are not just more in number. They are in communication with each other. And you would have seen some of the drone shows. Many times you will see, if one or drone in between or some communication breaks, all those just crumble down. They all fall on the ground because that communication is lost. Now they are very small. I mean, they don't create much damage. But if there is a swarm attack which is talking to each other, then HPM weapons will create probably enough disruption that they don't carry on. Okay, but now that is why laser is not effective against those, because laser is against individual target. One by one, one by one, one by one, it can take on. But that is okay when you are targeting one individual target. But when you're talking of mass attack like that, then obviously HPM is a better solution, and of course passive defense measures. Next, please. I think I'll quickly wrap it up. Now, what is required? I've just said, you need robust network with redundancy. When you using network, you literally have to plan that what if this network goes? What is your redundancy? We do plan, we do, practice. There are anti-aircraft measures. What are there? There are anti-missile measures. Anti-missile measures means what is your ballistic missile defense,
Hmm.
and those that you miss, where all can they drop, how can I deceive them? If there is a missile which is coming and it has got some dismac capability, there is scene matching capability, then can I do enough camouflage to fool the missile, etc. All those innovative methods will have to be drawn. Counter drone measures, again, drone, you need same thing. It's a same principles of air defense. That is, you need to detect it, disable, intercept, and destroy. But the game changes. Why? Because your missiles, ballistic missiles, and aircraft generally behave the same way. Their sizes are same, their speeds are comparable. I mean, missiles are much faster, but what I'm saying, they're large enough to be detected. Drones are undetectable. You have to sometimes detect them by the rotors. Micro Doppler shift. What kind of radar you use now? We also have a fetish with range. So when I want to pick up radar, I said I need to see 5 kilometers, I need to see 10 kilometers. But now when you want to pick up a drone, like, no false positive or no false negative, like, when it says, it doesn't give you false negative, means it does not tell you nothing is there when actually something is there. Okay, then you need radar with different characteristics. Layered defense will have to be there. I will need a high frequency like Ku band radar, for example, to detect very small micro Doppler shift, which can detect even the rotor speed of the drone. But it will not give me enough range. If I want enough range, then this very slow moving drone will not be detected.
This is a double whammy, sir.
Double whammy. So now what do you need? So you need to think, it is not either or situation. It is a comprehensive situation, means I will need a combination of both. I need to make an appreciation of my area, and see
Hmm.
that where, what kind of threat is likely to emerge from which side. Okay, and accordingly have a solution. Intercept, how do I intercept and destroy it? Am I able to disable it? What if that guy is not using any communication? Like in this particular case, they are probably launched on auto. They say you have to go there, and Kawakazi, don't just go and dig yourself there. It is not being controlled. So if it is not being controlled, what am I going to jam? There is no communication only. And tomorrow you will find drones, working on 5G. I mean, 5G has come. They are not even dependent on line of sight. Satcom communication is already there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you're hopping from, they're using normal networks. So it's not that you suddenly something comes up and you're surprised and start looking at counter solution. When you design something, its counter has to be, well thought of. Otherwise, you keep building capability on drones, and don't think of counter drones. Then there is a problem. We ourselves have to wake up to that. And I think last slide, next one, I've got just to draw. So what do we need? What are you going to have now in the future scenario? There will be, this is again a very nice analysis done, at Royal United Services Institute, UK. And I like this first statement. I picked it up from there, that there will be stalemate at borders, but targets at depth will be under threat. Now, this is a very novel idea. Earlier what used to happen is, you're fighting battle on the border. Okay, so forces advance, they come back. So sitting at, when you heard 71 war commentary, you realize अपनी forces कितनी आगे चली गई हैं, इस तरफ वो आ गए हैं, इस तरफ हम चले गए हैं. That is how you thought war is progressing. But future wars, he says, there will be stalemate at border. Means you will not be able to move, because the weapons are of this kind, they will not allow you to move. But now your hinterland is under threat, because weapons are long range. They are not dependent on your border forces to threaten you. You talk of DF-21 missile, it's not dependent on border, what is happening at border. I mean, it is being launched from inside, it is landing up 1,000 kilometers inside. So now what happens is, these guys who are responsible for defending your in-depth target are going to be at, in loggerheads, or in, what should I say, in, in dispute, or in sort of controversy against defending forces on the border. They'll say, you're not doing your job at the border. That is why the threat is coming inside. Whereas that thing will change. Now, this balance between offensive and defensive will have to be thought. Generally, we earlier used to make statement, offense is the best defense. Okay, not anymore. Okay, you
Hmm.
will have to be conscious about how are you going to defend your targets. Technology must be to complement and not replace basics. Your human end, it realize that
Human.
it is very, very important. Okay, human end you can't replace. What in our satellite episode, we covered that satellites cannot see each and everything all the time. There are limitations. Similarly, persistent surveillance, and those surveillance patterns are mechanical, and their pattern is known, so people can hoodwink them. But human end is what you don't know, who's watching you, where is watching you. So
How?
that is
Where?
very, very important. Okay, and so technology must be there. It is not to deny it, but it not at the cost of, not to replace basics. If technology in this particular scenario was complementing human efforts, and those guys were watching, somebody was watching that when I, if suppose my this remote machine gun does not fire on my command center, do I have the redundancy, some guys to quickly rush up to that and take on those positions? If probably if that was planned, they would have realized in the beginning only that something is wrong. Okay. Last thing, when I say private participation, very very important. The scenario is coming now. See. No problem. See, the thing is, Adi, when we talk of normal defense, okay, you have suppose you are a big business house, okay, or you have a house, you have to guard your house. There is a police to provide security against thieves. I mean, that is what the let's say mandate or charter of security forces is. But what happens is it is understood now that security forces are not going to be able to do everything. So people plan their own security. You have your own guards. If you are under threat, you take a license for a revolver, okay, etc., etc. So the point I'm making is that now our big industrial houses slowly will have to get in that it may not be possible for the forces or for security agencies to give a blanket AD clearance. People will have to pitch in, for which lot needs to be done. I mean, I'm not saying it can happen tomorrow. I mean, it's not that a big business house, even if I say that, okay, I'm ready to, pitch in money, tell me what to do. We are not yet ready. I mean, our anti-drone laws are still not, in writing. Who can use, anti-drone measures is not yet there. I mean, I'm ready to use it, but it's not there. So we will quickly have to get that, authorize people to guard their own places. Airports, for example, okay, if there is a ground security with CISF or somebody, then is the aerial security also looked after by some local agency, or is it only dependent on Indian Air Force to detect threat from miles away and make sure that it does not land up over airport, especially when these drones kind of things can be launched from next door. Okay. I mean, they are rogue elements you can launch from anywhere. So we have to quickly think. I mean, we are talking of lessons for Bharat, that quickly
Hmm.
think that what kind of security systems we have to ensure that we provide complete umbrella to the security scenario for air defense of the entire country. It's a very, very complex operation. I mean, you can carry, after all, there are courses which run into months to understand air defense operation. But this was just to generate interest and kindle some thought process. I know I on your show I get carried away and it carries on, but then the storyline goes like that. And I think it was important to cover all these things. Thank you very much. I think I'm done with my
Insightful,
time.
sir. Let me just say this. This was insightful. I just didn't know how time just flew by. For me, this was playing out battle scenarios in my head, which is, I mean, I could talk about this for hours because there's just so much that could be taken. I mean, it's not a one that could be taken, one second that could be implemented, and third that could be thought about with regards to, um, you know, sorry, I'm just trying to mark out the questions and it keeps
Yes, please.
somebody else puts up a question, so my hand gets shifted. So
No.
yeah, I mean, what I was trying to say was the kind of information that you've given us, we've really, really, trust me here. I'll just take this as a please, sir, get carried away. We appreciate your analysis. So I appreciate. I
Very
mean,
much.
trust me, I follow the sentiment right here. This was fantastic. Uh, my I mean, I'll get into the questions, sir. Of
Yes,
course,
yes.
I'm going to throw in my little questions along with the audience questions as well. So, guys, let's get into that, and please do like the video. Trust you me, the kind of information, and surprisingly speaking, we had done this stealth show some time ago. Past 2 days, for some reason, people have started finding a whole lot of interest in it, and suddenly the show is picking up and it started actually doing really well, and people have started talking about that whole thing again. Um, so please like this video, subscribe. This kind of content is very difficult to find, and especially on intricate subjects like this. And please spread the word. We've just crossed 87,500 subscribers, so I guess we are inching closer to our next big milestone.
Yes.
Of course, please, if you can, do contribute towards the Dev Talks efforts. The QR code is up there, or you can become members or send us super sticker or super chats. Let's get into your questions. Whole lot of them, sir. Whole lot of them. Okay, let's see. Thought provocateur. He says, "What Pakistan?" Okay, this is a off the subject question, yeah, buddy. I think we've discussed this, but sir, if you have any thoughts of this, thank you so much, firstly, for your
Sorry.
contribution.
Yeah.
He says, "Was training Hamas terrorists in Dera how to use miniature nuke, Pau kilo ka bum, which went horribly wrong. Mere coincidence or more? There's a lot more to it. If you want to join us tomorrow at 3:15, where we'll talk about the geopolitical nature, but I'll leave it open to sir if you'd like to comment anything."
No, no. Yeah, another thing, miniature nuke in what sense? Because to drop a nuclear weapon, or, it is not a bullet. I mean, I don't understand that. Is it intended to mean that Hamas could have used nuclear weapon there? I mean, it will decimate everything around it. And there is a sometimes nuclear weapon or dirty bomb. Now that we are talking, it's talked in a very loose sense. Sometimes it was said that what if terrorists start getting nuclear or dirty bomb in boats and things like that. Okay, now you visit. I have had the chance to visit one of the centers at Trombe. Okay, the it's a 1,000-ton kind of structure, okay, with this big steel thing which is around it for a very small kind of material. The radiation, there was an incident in India sometimes back. There was a medical waste, in one of the localities. Somebody found some shiny object or something, okay, and he liked it and he just picked it up and put it in his back pocket. Okay, and it, the kind of, it was very small, very less radiation. I mean, most of it had been used, but still whatever was available, it burnt down to his bone. I mean, it was a very chilling kind of narrative. It's not easy to use nuke, or you can't train somebody to use nuke in that loose sense, in my opinion. And in a close combat scenario, I mean, how will you do that? It would have wiped out, not only Israel, uh,
Israel and Gaza
Egypt,
also.
Lebanon, and Gaza. I mean, the other countries along with it,
Yeah.
which are bordering. I mean, after all, what is the geographical extent that we are talking?
Saurabh ji, thank you so much. I mean, I don't know which conspiracy theory you're listening to, but there's nothing behind the CDS's helicopter crash. It's a crash, which is a crash, which is a crash, which is a crash. There have been crashes before, and sorry to say this, there will be crashes in the future as well. Accidents do happen. But sir, the question of
You,
failure behind, I don't know what the reason of the failure was.
no, you see, failure behind, whatever is there. I mean, weather essentially played a role. The fact is that helicopter, when it was going from plains to a hilly terrain, valleys have their own scenario. Sometimes, weather packs up in a unpredictable way. Okay, the government has been briefed about it. I'm sure if things had gone very or the wrong way, or things, a lot of heads would have rolled. Okay, the fact is that these are operational hazards. This particular helicopter, when it went, I mean, weather packed up, they couldn't proceed further. They did their best. Everything has been analyzed, and it was unfortunate that it happened. Shouldn't have happened, but it happened.
Absolutely, sir. Shouldn't have happened, but Vikasji, thank you so much for your contribution. He says, "What is the protocol followed with the Indian security agencies when challenged by Israel-like attack?"
Protocol followed with Indian security agencies is very clear. There is no protocol in the sense that everybody has its charter very well drafted. Air defense of the country is the responsibility of Indian Air Force. Okay, and it is well poised. Now, Israel-like attack, in what scenario? This is a good question from a point of view that we should always think about it. What if a Israel like attack happens? So situation will play out how it happens. Let's say it happens on LOC, or it happens on a normal border, or in what kind of scenario it happens. If it happens on the, most likely on LOC, I don't envisage it, but nowadays you can't say I don't envisage. Just about anything is possible. Okay, but we are more we are vigilant, we are careful to the extent that if that kind of scenario, first of all, why I'm saying, I'm thinking while I'm answering this question, that the scenario, Israel like scenario, for this to happen, you have to have Israel Hamas like scenario playing out, no?
You have a
If
Pakistan, but
you have Pakistan, but that kind of daily, like let's say when there was a daily firing on LOC or something was happening, or etc., you can probably think that suddenly something will come. Yes, it is well possible, at any given time they say, now these terrorists, if they sneak in by 5:10, but if tomorrow they decide that they will come in one go, 200, 250, then probably you'll have a scenario like that. Okay, but as far as we are concerned, I think I would like to believe that protocol or the charter is in place. But yes, I'm sure the security forces must be revisiting their drills and their whole scenario, that they don't sit thinking that it can't happen. Just about anything can happen. and
absolutely. But
and and the the last point, I mean, on this question I'll make, absence of means something that I don't see. Okay, it does not mean that it is not there. Okay, it is, you have to make a distinction between that something is there, why am I not seeing it? You get the difference between the two. I mean, I should, from security point of view, I need to be paranoid that something is there, there is some intruder, there is somebody trying to get in. Where is he, let me find out, but you, just because I don't see something, I shouldn't sit tight that I don't see anything, so
everything
nothing
is
is there.
fine.
Everything is fine.
Yeah, but one of the
You
things
just
that I also notice, I mean, the point of the AI that a lot of people today are talking about, that that Israelis have depended too much on AI, and AI has not been able to learn beyond its capacity, and it
a
was
AI
basically a
as of
remote control sort of a
now, yeah,
border defense. Hamara,
AI as of now. Sorry, please go ahead.
so I'm just saying ours is not fully AI controlled. I mean, it's hardly AI controlled. Ours is still human controlled. So there's a lot of awareness which comes across.
AI, it is yet not, AI is not yet the what AI ultimately is supposed to be. They are still data analysis tools. When you say,
Yeah, yeah.
let's say chat GPT, okay, if you say this is AI, what is it doing? I will have to go through 20 sites, I want answer to something. I will go through 20 Google sites to find out what is there. So this chat GPT does the same thing in quick time. Okay, it probably scans all those sites and give me a solution that this is probably what is being said,
And that too
and
only
fools you.
information till 2021 for that matter.
Yeah,
Chat
yeah,
GPT
yeah,
till
yeah.
only 2021.
Absolutely. I just gave an example, and that can fool you big time. Ask it some intricate question, it cannot differentiate. It still does not have what is intelligence? Why is human being intelligence? It's able to fool you. As long as I'm only able to give you information, I'm not really intelligent, artificially or natural. I should be able to deceive you. Is the tool AI is able to deceive people? Till it's able to deceive people or fool people, it's not classically AI, but yes, it's much advanced. I don't deny it. It quickly can tell you what is more important based on the logics or algorithms that you have taught it. That okay, if these boxes are ticked, then this is probably more important. So in a rush time, in a stressful time, I don't have to see just about everything. Okay, it will quickly gather that and say, okay, this is how they should be placed, or they should be arranged, or this is how the facts need to be arranged. Okay, so in this particular case, AI failed, or they are simply communication or data communication failed, is anybody's guess, but definitely some automation failed, right? Which they were supposed to be
Which
relying
should
on.
have worked properly, yes, sir.
It should have worked properly.
Siddharth ji, thank you so much for your contribution. He says, can we build a combination of Swati radar at the borders in S-400 detection with direct energy intervention as an effective measure for swarm attacks?
S-400, probably not really, for storm attack. I mean, it is a ballistic missile defense kind of scenario. You won't waste it there. But energy intervention as an direct energy, I mean, direct energy weapons, yes, directed, probably, DW is what he's talking of, okay, is a good, definitely, uh, good way to do it. There will be small bullets, small arms, small this thing, which can disable things, a combination of all this. But in my opinion, S-400 does not fit into this equation, and it's for a different purpose altogether.
Purpose altogether.
Yeah.
Sir, let's go forward. Shri Harshaji, thank you so much. Sir, Israel Intelligence, Harvard University, the BLM, woke left. Guys, let's stick to the subject, Harshaji, please. We've discussed this. Yes, they have got exposed, and Sir is talking about air defense, so let's keep it on that if you don't mind. We've discussed this today afternoon as well. If you want more details, please feel free to get in touch with me. JBJP, is BB doing another AF Air Force AF show to fool Israelis? I'm not sure what that means. AF show, force, show of force. He's bombing Gaza. So on that note, bombing
Mhm.
Gaza. Let me twist JBJP's and the other gentleman's question to ask you: what kind of bombing are we seeing? Is this carpet bombing or is this targeted attacks?
No, nowadays, and I don't think there's a concept of carpet bombing, because what happens is they're expensive. They're all GBUs, guided bomb units. Different numbers based on, what kind of bomb they're attached to,
But they're
etc.
using dud bombs also, sir. So
No, that bombs with GPUs. Like, what happens is there is a difference. Like laser guided bomb is a different. You have a normal with some kind of guidance. Inertial guidance, or some kind of coordinates are told and it goes to that close. There is no reason for anyone to just drop. I mean, weight of attack, yes, you can do. I mean, if you are not bothered about CP, or you just want to keep heads down, then anything comes your way, you can probably do that. But when you want to do damage, then definitely, mostly, I think initial they won't really, do just. I mean, in that much area, you're not talking of destroying a very large area, in the sense that that effect probably can be mostly by guided bombs or GPUs, as I see. But now, this fog of war. Now it's nobody is sitting and whatever, counting what is happening. Very dedicated kind of eye would be required for that. Who's counting each and every bomb? We are talking in general. I mean, it is being pounded. It's now immaterial whether it's a dud bomb or that bomb. When that bomb falls, it does decent damage.
damage.
And yeah, aircraft, dud bombs also fall within 20-30 meters. I mean, all my life we have done dud bombing only, free fall bombs, and range scores have been 10 yards, 20 yards. Yes, that is under peaceful conditions. I mean, under practice conditions. But even if things fall within 40-50 meters or something, and you want to make an effect, that's good enough, I would say. And if it's cheap, mind you, that cost matters. If, let's say, I have to, I'm not bothered about accuracy, and I just have to destroy things, and a bomb costs me, 1/100th the cost of a very expensive guided bomb, then I may decide to use 10-20 of them.
Nilesh he says, sir, new tech defense seems to be unwinnable, satisfiable. You have this, I have that, it never ends.
Yes,
That's a
it
good
is. Yeah, new. What happens is, new. It depends. Technology is there. It depends how you put to use, and how you complement one thing. With the other. Now, see, there is a standard missiles. Which we talked about, SM-3, etc. Now, what do we have? We have surface to air. Well, take the case of S-400, for example. Okay, and take the case of S-400 or Patriot or DF-21. They cannot do each other's role. S-400 cannot do what DF-21 can do, or let's say Pralay can do. I mean, any ground attack missile. There is an air defense missile. There is a ground attack missile. Correct. DF-21. Why I'm using this, because it's more famous and popular. People know about it. DF-21 cannot target an aircraft, and S-400 cannot target a ground installation. So there is a distinction. What this gentleman is talking tomorrow, that SM-6 probably is a multi-role missile. It will have both the functions. That means you fire it if halfway I find an aircraft. Let's say I launch it on a ground target, and halfway I find an AWACS of interest. I probably can, redirect it towards that as well. Or I launch a missile, and let's say it misses an aircraft, then does it go waste? I may redirect it to a ground target. This is the kind of thinking which is developing. It little difficult to achieve as of now, but the work is on.
Saurabh, once again, thank you so much. He says, "Can we strike swarm attack with our with our swarm attacks?"
So see, that is force on force. Okay, what happens is that not really one on one, because again it's like picking up one thing at a time. I think rather than putting so many drones, I would like to use my swarm for a better purpose. You see, rather than just disabling other swarm. But now there are two aspects to it. One is the physical capability. I mean, by laws of physics, is it possible to attack a swarm with a swarm? By all means, yes. If a drone can attack a drone, if an aircraft can attack an aircraft, swarm can attack swarm. So by laws of physics, there is nothing stopping it. Okay, but we are talking is tactically, is that worth it to disable that by another swarm? If push comes to shove, there is nothing else left, and I have no other decent role for swarm, and I want to disable. See, full swarm ke liye you will not need as many. Probably 10, 20 should be enough for another 100, because they just have to disrupt the whole game of theirs. But this kind of innovative thinking probably can work. We definitely can have exercises, or these war gamings, or this technology demonstrations, that how swarm can be, let's say, disabled. We already have interceptor drones. There are interceptor drones which go and fire probably a laser. They can go and fire some other weapon. They can throw a net on a drone, incoming drone. They have airborne radars also of their own, that they can detect. It is now coming up slowly. So technology to take down swarm, I think so far the most effective would be jamming. If you concentrate more on jamming equipment, more powerful jamming equipment, then that is a bigger deterrence rather than launch a swarm against this.
Duplicate Parody ji, thank you so much for your contribution, but it's a off subject. I'm not going to take this question. Sorry, guys, but let's just stick to the subject. It's a very, very technical subject. Let's stick to that. Geopolitics, we keep on doing all the time. BB Gaza Air Force campaign for the last 15 years have failed. That is, I mean, you could say it failed. Yeah, you could.
Like in what is the
The enemy still stands, sir.
object? Yeah, no, true. But what happens is, that way, do we say that our anti-terrorist operations in J&K have failed? At any
Fantastic.
given time, in J&K, there are about 100. You attend any briefing, they will tell you there are 150 to 200 terrorists. So do I say that there are terrorist operations have failed? You have to see that if you were not there, then what would have happened? Then probably Israel wouldn't have been existing today.
That's a fantastic answer, sir. I must say, commend you for that. Siddhartha ji, thank you so much once again. He says, "Can internal guidance systems be jammed? Can this be used as a deflection tactic?"
No, inertial guidance
Inertial
system.
guidance
Inertial
system.
guidance, yeah, no problem. Inertial guidance system cannot be jammed. That's a standalone, because it works on its own. It has got no external input. Just remember, you can only jam something which is taking external input. You can, like GPS can be jammed because it's taking external input. Inertial guidance system just works on gyros and accelerometers. Okay, as long as there is earth, the inertial navigation system will not fail, because it's simply, it knows why it can fail. It never fails, it only degrades. How good are your excel? If
Right.
I can take 30 seconds to tell you how inertial navigation
Yeah.
system works. I mean,
Please.
I launch this take this as my inertial navigation system. What does it has? It has accelerometers. Okay, what does accelerometer does? It measures acceleration. When this thing moves forward, there is an accelerometer which lags, and it tells how fast it has moved. Then it calculates, it integrates acceleration and gets speed. It integrates it further and gets distance. Double integration, right? So it knows in a particular direction how much distance has it covered.
Okay.
Okay, and there are three accelerometers, in all three dimensions it moves. And since accelerometer has to stay always in a particular orientation, but aircraft or missile could be doing this, there are gyros which keep it like that. So when aircraft moves, the gyro moves, gimbal moves to keep it like that. Now you see, there are gyros, there are accelerometers. The inertial navigation system will degrade depending on what kind of gyros you have. And we earlier used to have mechanical gyros, Now you have laser gyros. Okay, then you have, very fine quality accelerometers which measures the distances very, very accurately. But inertial navigation system will still degrade. That is why all the missiles which use guidance, inertial guidance, have GPS complement. They're called ion GPS. So very periodically, an inertial nav system will update itself with the GPS system, because it's degraded over a period of time. Okay, so GPS now, it's supposed to go from let's say Delhi to Bangalore, right? This inertial nav system, it reaches over Agra. That it says it's supposed to be over Taj Mahal, but it is over Fatehpur Sikri. Okay, so GPS will tell him, hey, you're not there, you're here. So it will update its position. From there again, it starts navigating. Okay, so like that. So it is GPS which you can jam, which can decently over long range degrade inertial navigation system, but inertial navigation system cannot be jammed. Hope that
Yeah, that
clears it.
clarifies quite a bit, sir.
Yeah.
Uh, so BVR missiles of IFF, cause sometimes in the simulator I see them launching active missiles in a direction without getting lock on enemies.
Yes. See, missile will not lock on to any. What does it say? BVR missile has IFF. Yeah. No, no, no. You see, what happens is BVR missile will not have IFF. BVR missile will have beyond visual range active missile he's talking of. Aircraft has IFF. Okay. When I launch on a particular target, I tell the missile, here is the target. Okay, that missile, that coordinates are fed into the missile, and missile leaves for a probable position of the target. Okay, now target in the meanwhile may have moved because it's maneuvering, it's going left, right, etc. But the ranges of missiles are so given. Why do we say this particular missile, the range is 60 kilometers, this is 40 kilometers, this is 100 kilometers? One would say put a little more boost here, let it go to 150 kilometers, because boost is not the only criterion. Okay, this avionics. So now what happens is, if I have a long range missile, let's say, now it has the capability to go at a particular speed with booster, launch, go fast, reach at a position where it can open its active radar. Now it's the look angle of its active radar is such that the target probably it will find within that cone. And once it locks onto the target, then it maneuvers along with that target. It locks onto the target, it will now take on that target. Okay, but IFF function, it definitely will know. It's, you see, what is IFF is that it triggers, that secondary radar. It sends a signal, it demands a response, and if it does not respond to that thing, then you say it is not a friend, it is a foe. You remember that famous Gary Powers incident,
Yeah.
you too? Okay, when MiG 19 was lost of Russian Air Force because it was chasing it. Okay, and the ground radar did not know that U2 has already been shot. It saw MiG-19 falling. It was 1st May. 1st May is Labor Day. There was Chutti, and this MiG-19 had not drawn its IFF code. Can you believe it? And when this ground transponder
Saw it.
triggered it, that
God.
sing your canary or identify yourself, he did not have the latest IFF code, so it shot him, thinking that it is that aircraft only. This is how IFF works. It's not on auto.
So let's speed up if you don't mind, so that we
Yes.
can
Yeah, no, please,
finish up.
as
We're at about 1 hour 20 minutes. We'll take another 10 minutes. What
yeah.
is the deterrent number of airplanes, missiles for Bharat, and do we have that, sir? Nilesh, thank you so much. We'll never have
What
enough.
is what is the deterrent number of airplanes, missiles? Yeah, I mean, that's like we are saying. Indian Air Force is of the opinion that we must have 42 squadron strength. We are way short, so the effort is on. When LCA picks up, I think it will. We will start reaching that number
Today there's that news, not
closely.
24 aircraft
Yeah,
per year.
yeah. So what happens is, but overall, how many can we make quick time? Okay, now LCS will have to come and we have a bit adieu to MiG-21, the workhorse. Where I loved that aircraft because I spent my youth on that. So what happens is now these numbers will come up. Number of missiles. Now you see there is an issue with number of missiles. I will tell you what, you just can't buy. Uh, any number of missiles. You know why? Money is not the only question. They have life. If you don't have a war, those missiles after some time they just go defunct. Like, it's not a one-time buy. It is it's a consumer product. Every missile has a shelf life. Why? Because there is a explosive in that. Those
Hmm.
grains, it's a solid boost. Okay, that solid grains, after some time that grain gives up, and if that grain forms deformities, then it can explode. It can do that. Is why you have life expired missiles. Then you do some tests on that, you give some extensions, then you make it serviceable, but only up to a point. Okay, beyond that, now let's say today I say that I need to 1000 missiles. Okay, so I buy all 2000 and keep it with me?
Hmm.
Not necessarily. Okay,
No.
it's your milk consumption for a month. How do you buy? Would you buy all of it today and keep it with you? It'll go bad, right? So what happens is it will have to be periodically re-established. Another point we notice, some people have it that when question comes up that how many missiles should you make. When I give a requirement from the Air Force, I said, okay, I need 2000 missiles. Then somebody asks, okay, 2000 missiles, how many aircraft does Pakistan have? Okay, then we say, take any number, 300, 400, 500, 500. Okay, so he says, even if you shoot down 200, then Pakistan actually would have lost the war. No, let's say, I mean, 200 is a large number. I'm just amplifying my point. So why do you need 2000 missiles if you just need to shoot down 200 aircraft? So when you're listening to it, it will certainly sound logical. Okay, yeah, actually, why do you need so many missiles? But the point is, you don't need these missiles, airborne missiles, for Pakistan aircraft or China aircraft. You need these missiles to be on your aircraft. Coming back to same J&K problem, if I say there are 200 terrorists and we say that how much ammunition does J&K require, then is it enough to say that 1000 rounds should be enough or 500 rifles should be enough? It is how many people you have there, because you don't know where is he likely to appear. So these 200 aircraft, I don't know where will they be appearing. So moment my aircraft is airborne, it must have 4 to 6 missiles. So if I'm going to launch, at any given time, I have to launch 500 aircraft, then I need 2000 to 3000 missiles at any given time. And, if they are being expended, then obviously I'll need that much of refurbishment.
Correct, sir.
So, I mean, broadly, that is.
SN, he asked, do Iron Dome estimates unguided missiles also?
Does Iron Dome estimates? Yeah, it can estimate unguided missile. Rocket is an unguided only. You see, it picks up. It picks up a rocket projectile fired. It is unguided. Rocket is just launched to be See, once it is launched, it is not now being guided or something. It is trajectory is fixed. It will just go there, which is launched. So this Iron Dome picks up the trajectory of the of that rocket and estimates is it going to land up on populated area or not. Whichever areas they have defined are critical. If it was going to land up there, it will destroy it. If it is going to land up somewhere, it will ignore it. It is basically picking up a projectile in the air, immaterial, whether it is guided or not guided.
Maitri asks, we discussed about number of weapons. Can the number of dirty bombs can
That one.
compensate for a nuclear bomb as threat of missile theft is real?
See, again, dirty bombs, I just explained. It's, in my opinion, it's not really viable. We talk about
It
it, the
doesn't.
terrorists will get dirty bombs, etc. If you read about it, little bit, that how
The
does nuclear
Israelis tried
bomb
it.
work,
Now, so
and
24 bombs they dropped. They found that the radiation required to kill a person is when you are standing 10 feet away from the point of impact. If you're
yeah,
standing 10 feet away from a point of impact, your as it is gonna,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so didn't work really. Uh, Adi Sura, he says, should India deploy IR camera SIGINT platforms on stationary tethered surveillance balloons along the LOC should be cheaper than using drones for patrol duties?
Oh yes, there are a lot of people working on it. There are a lot of drone companies, a lot of guys who are working on tethered balloons. But on LOC, it will be targetable. You see, what happens is it has. What is the point? Tether balloon. The very biggest advantage of tether balloon is it can go up and come down anytime that you want. Okay. And secondly, it can use that cable for data. Your data is almost real time. You're not dependent on any communication or any direct link, etc., etc. Everything goes to that wire. Your power supply also, your data cable also, your everything. It's a good option. Only thing, it's not maneuverable. It is just at one particular place. If it is I mean you just can't have it on the LOC up in the air hanging. No, nobody targeting it in that case.
Saraswati ji, she says, are
Or
there that are direct energy weapons used in current wars? How easily accessible are such weapons now? Dhanyasmi.
directed energy weapons like laser, HPM, etc. They laser is still work in progress. The kind
Progress.
of for very heavy like missiles, but they are very much in use. Or you see, laser is being used. It was deployed at Red Fort. DRDO has developed it against drones. We are not talking of lasers against aircraft or missiles, but against drones they are being used. It's one of the counter drone methods, that laser defense.
So, Ashim Tandanji, thank you so much. He says, how about using a combination of heat seeking, metal detection, and trajectory calculation be used to detect a rocket and aimed at?
This is precisely what is happening. You see, when you say combination of heat seeking, metal detection, trajectory, and calculation be used to detect a rocket and aim at, this is what Iron Dome does. I mean, not heat seeking. It's an active detection by a radar. Okay, so heat seeking, when he talks of, it's a ballistic missile. That is how ballistic missile in the ascent phase is likely to be targeted. Means moment you launch a ballistic missile, what happens is, now when they are getting into space sensors, space lasers and all that technology, the especially when we come to hypersonic application, what they're going to do now is, earlier, ballistic missile used to get airborne. In my first picture which I showed, you see where the intercept or detection is taking place, somewhere on the top trajectory, and then the destruction is taking place much later. But now they find that, when we are talking of maneuverability, hypersonic missiles or things are going to be maneuverable, and those guided or HGVs, hypersonic glide vehicles, are going to be launched on similar ballistic missiles. That ballistic missile will take it at about 100, kilometers and leave it, from where it will glide at hypersonic speeds and come. But now they say that if you target this missile in the ascent phase, which is essentially by detecting its plume, and you made it maneuver in the initial phase, it will lose much of its energy in the initial phase and not have enough energy
That
left
much
to
force to.
reach its target, or to maneuver in the terminal phases to reach a particular target. So it is a
That's
combination of this which is being used anyway.
That's interesting, sir. Ming Wu, I believe this is not the Ming, whatever. Ming Wu asks, I am surprised at the sophisticated weaponry and tactic used by so called terrorist groups like Hamas and Hezbollah. Are we sure non state actors are not involved?
No, they are non-state actors. He means state actors are not involved.
This is a she, sir. If I correct, guys, yeah, I think this is a she. So, uh,
Okay, I
I
mean,
mean,
I'm saying
other state
person
actors,
mean,
if they had help
yeah, other
from,
state actors.
let's say, the Pakistanis or the Chinese for that matter.
Yeah, state actors are not involved. State actors definitely, this has been the, even when in our case, in our own case, in my active service in various, while we were doing National Defense College, I remember raising the same question that, we keep saying non-state actors, non-state actors, but when you look at their capability, non-state actor cannot really get that capability. Okay, where
Yeah,
does he live? I mean, is he living in vacuum, really?
yeah,
Or is he, where is he surviving, where does he get things from? Okay, and I would refuse to believe, Adi, that in an other country, if there is someone, who stays there, who gathers weapons, who does, and you are not, you don't know about it, then I mean, what kind of
yeah,
security
yeah.
apparatus you
But
have, and he's able to.
I
Hmm?
think that the
Yeah.
what point she's made is pretty interesting because the kind of weaponry you are firing today, the kind of rockets and this and that, especially not the Hamas but the Hezbollah, does see a certain imported hand in it. And there have been Chinese
Yes.
weapons that have been seen in terms of the technology of the rockets which are
No, I
there,
mean,
sir.
newspaper, the reports have it that some of them probably have come from North Korea also.
North
I
Korea is
was just
China, sir.
reading.
Same thing.
China, yeah, yeah, same thing. So what I'm saying is we are just geographical location we are fixing. Okay, so obviously, I mean they are not. Adi, it's a good point, and like I said, I complimented it that I myself used to make this point that why do we call them non-state actors? They probably have a state sport. When they have a state sport, then they're probably state actors. Some of them. Do they have a factory? Hamas, I mean, somewhere that where they make all these sophisticated things and etc. Paragliders or this that. Where are they produced? I mean, I'm sure they must have been supplied, and DJI drones, etc. Now, yes, the point is whether you can close your eyes to that. They get money from somewhere, they go and buy it. Okay, now whether if I do not give directly weapon, but I give money, and then I say no, I did not give them weapons. I only gave them money to eat and drink. But now he's gone and buy about weapons. What can I do? Which is not the case. You see, how does it happen when Syria, when you tracked Syria, when Syria was burning, that ISIS, came, they said they are getting weapons by selling oil. This is what we realized that, when they were, we used to hear this. And I was in the UK then, in the diplomatic circles, and it was at its peak, 14, 15, when 14 it was going on. So one wondered that are they selling oil in some jerry cans or something? And are the weapons that they have are what homemade katas or something? The fuel must be going in tankers. There must be drivers. There must be long trails for you to get that kind of weapons. How much oil you have to sell here?
Yeah, yeah.
And how is it going? And on one hand, we have satellites tracking each and every aspect, whether you are breathing or not breathing. And then you can't detect oil tankers going from place A to place B, or some big trucks getting those weapons. So all this intricate game. This is for your geopolitics, Adi. I mean, that how these things happen.
No, that's true, sir. There's no question. Uh, does India have nano down drone technology which can identify, kill any target? Can we do it in a small swarm drone attack to counter if such an Israel type attack happens to us?
Nano drone technology, nanotechnology, I mean, it's per se to miniaturize things and to make small things. Okay, you don't have to make a drone nano, because then it will not be able to do anything. I mean, it does need a little bit size to carry some weapon, but yes, those parts, moment you miniaturize it, it can probably save you on the weight and things like that. Okay, so nanotechnology is not only for drones. I guess nanotechnology is a technology in itself. You can use it in just about anything. It is just that very small particle or very invasive kind of thing. You people are using nanotechnology to make creams, medical equipment. That you apply an ointment, it'll get deep inside because it's made out of nanotechnology. Okay, so that's a technology in itself. It can be used in drones, and small drones can be made to counter swarms. I guess so. I mean, if you miniaturize things, you can make small, they're non-detectable, invasive in nature, then they can be used offensively.
A whole lot can be done. Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Batraji says, Air Marshal, if defense systems gets overwhelmed, what is the best strategy? One non-kinetic like EM countermeasures or direct energy weapons, or in small kinetic countermeasures.
They see what happens is the air defense systems getting overwhelmed is a challenge. I brought it out upfront that this is a challenge we have to be prepared for, and laid defenses will have to be worked out. Okay,
Hmm.
and you have to cater for a long time back there used to be concept of passive air defense. When siren goes up, aircraft siren goes up, and trenches, you have heard of the W type trench, L type trench, people get into trench. They were all passive defense, passive air defense measures. Okay, over a period of time, the technology kept going up, etc., and people lost sight of that. I think all these measures that he has mentioned are important. You will have to have a combination of that. You will have to have a now to you have to build a favorable exchange ratio. I keep saying depth of magazine means enough ammunition, and a good exchange ratio means you need to develop weapons which can counter with an equivalent kind of cost. No, unfortunately, what is the paradox here? When you target a threat, it is not so important how much that threat costs. It is that what damage can it do to me. That is important. If a small kind of $100 worth something can destroy my millions of dollar asset, then that $100 thing has to be taken with whatever it costs, right?
So,
Because the damage it can cause to me is phenomenal. Okay, but over a period of time you will see that you can't sustain it, because the enemy can launch thousands of those $100 things, but you can't launch thousands of $1 million countermeasures. So you will have to get into two things. Of course, directed energy weapons and kinetic kill options will always be there, but you have to be prepared that in case you are not able to take down each and every threat, how are you going to prioritize? Which one will you take first? And where can you do with certain passive measures that okay, now let it fall. I mean, I have to prioritize my defense.
so Sumanji asks, can our Akash NG, which looks very similar in features with the PAC-3 MSE intercept theater ballistic missile optimally?
No, no. You see, the Akash missile is not meant for ballistic missile defense. It's a standard surface-to-air missile,
Anti-aircraft.
anti-aircraft. It's not really in PAC-3 category, because it's whatever. Anyway, we'll not get into confidential parameters of it,
So,
but it's essentially anti-aircraft missile. Yeah.
JBJP, once again, thank you. Is BB wary of a ground offensive? Why the delay it? Well, yes, he is wary. Anybody would be if you're trying to get into urban combat.
Yeah. And why delay yet? I mean, it's anybody's guess. I think they must
Anybody,
be
yes.
waiting
Yeah.
for something to soften it up.
Yadu Krishnanji, thank you so much. Why did we pull out a Su-57 program? TOT?
I really wouldn't know. What happens is these intricates. I mean, there is nothing in so much that we pulled out of Su-57. It depends on what else was available, how much is it coming, at what cost, whether we really need it or not, or what is the time frame. I mean, why I would not like to answer directly to this question, because isn't any authentic information available which can be
Very
confidently said,
difficult.
okay,
Yeah.
okay, this is the reason we pulled out of. Somebody asks me why did Marut fall out, I can probably give a confident answer. But why did we pull out of Su-57? I mean, I don't know, really.
And the last one, Shafik, thank you so much. He says, have we reached the pinnacles of missiles with hypersonics?
Pinnacle of missiles with hypersonics means we've not even started on that big track. Pinnacle is very far away. I mean, it's just whole thing has just about started. I mean, hypersonics we talked in detail, full episode we did. Okay, uh, uh, probably one would do well to maybe reach that where we are. There is a lot of ground to be covered.
Covered.
In hypersonic technology as far as we are concerned.
So, so again, I'm going to say this. I think there's so many people that have actually said that the kind of explanation that you've given is absolutely fantastic. I must say, it's for a layman who does not know what this whole thing is. I think you've brought it out very beautifully, sir. Congratulations and thank you so much. It's always a lovely experience talking to you because one, I do geopolitics all the time. Uske andar there's a lot of this, that, and the other happening all the time. But when you talk about these kind of sessions, it's really calming, and plus it's also a lot of full of knowledge where a lot of these times, geopolitics के अंदर ये सब चीजें काम में भी आती हैं. So
Yes, of course. I mean, they're all
it's
interlinked,
giving us a great base.
and yeah, no, I particularly enjoy this show. Every time I do this show, I have something to look forward to, and I always have this feeling that I'll learn a few things from your audience. Adi. You have a great
Mami
audience, and
Babaji says,
I
bring
must
a Marshal Bedi every week. Sir,
yes, of course.
so, sir, I
No,
mean,
thank you very
honestly,
much. I really appreciate
it's a
your
really a
people's.
pleasure, and trust me, the people really enjoy this. Guys, जाने से पहले, please like the video most critically so that it reaches the audience this kind of show deserves. Thank you so much, sir. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you very much, Adi. Thanks a lot.